Joe. Thanks for joining me again. Today we are talking about some basic league construction principles. Let's just jump right in. The league is designed to reward active owners by incorporating all of the best ideas in the world of fantasy football. Offensive players, extensive scoring, unlimited trading, functional taxi squads, a full NCAA team that feeds to your NFL team, multiple in-season and off-season competitions in addition to your traditional fantasy schedule. Active owners and a full year entertainment schedule combined with what we hope will be the ultimate fantasy football experience. The NFL League will ultimately have 90 teams split into 4 tiers. Some tiers will have multiple divisions, some are a single group. These tiers can all trade with each other, they are not independent. A core tenet of fantasy football is the competitive aspect. This league is focused on creating an experience that mimics the structure of the English Premier League, where top performers are promoted and bottom performers are relegated annually. As teams move up, payouts become better, which incentivizes teams to continue to perform well. In addition, a structure like this automatically incorporates a multi-year performance feature that works well with the dynasty concept. The promotion and relegation structure will be as follows. In year 1, all 90 teams are in one huge group. Nobody's going to be placed in anything. We want to figure out which are the best teams to be in the Premier League and then work our way down from there. So in year 1, we have a randomized schedule. Everybody has, I believe, double headers every week, as well as our regular tournaments that we have going on through the year. After year 1, we will be sorted by all play record. The top teams will be in the top divisions. The worst teams will be in the bottom. After year 2, we will have promotion and relegation between those tiers. Each tier has a different amount that move up, a different amount that move down. Some of them have tournaments that depend on if you get knocked down or not. Each one has its own personality, is kind of what I was going for. Our very top division is our Premier League. It's 16 teams. They're all in one division. Each team will play the other teams once. There will be a couple of double headers at the beginning of the season because I had planned originally to just have everybody play the 15 regular season games and have the best record be the champion at the end. That's how it works in the Premier League. But the waiting room outvoted me and said they'd prefer to have a tournament schedule in this bracket or in this tier. So we added some double headers at the beginning of the season so that we'd have time to make a tournament at the end of the Premier League season. I'll go into more details about that tournament later. It's a pretty unique tournament. But you'll play each of your other 15 division opponents once when you're in the Premier League. At the end of year 2, 5 teams will be relegated down to the next level, which is called the Thunderdome. Additionally, one more team will have to play in the Premier League Excelsior game, which is basically just if there's a team that's lower down, they have a chance to jump up to the Premier League if they can beat this team in the Week 17 game, the Week 17 Excelsior game. The next division is the Thunderdome. This will be home to 36 teams starting in year 2. That will be 3 12-team divisions. Each team will play everybody in their division, but this also is going to have an aspect where they play teams from the other divisions at different times throughout the year. At the end of year 2, 5 teams will be promoted up to Premier League. 7 teams will be relegated from the Thunderdome down to Battle World. That's the name of our next tier. Battle World is going to be 28 teams starting in year 2. 2 14-team divisions. You'll play everybody in your division once, and each week you'll have a contest against the other division. This is going to be kind of a make-it-take-it type contest. You'll have a chance to pick your opponent. I think this is going to be a really fun division, to be honest with you. At the end of year 2, we will have 7 teams promoted from Thunderdome 7 teams promoted from Battle World up to Thunderdome. 5 teams will be relegated from Battle World down to our bottom tier, which is called Murder World. Murder World is one division. It is the last 10 teams based on year 1's all-play wins. They will have just a terrible, awful schedule. They're going to play everybody 3 times. And the bottom 5 teams at the end of Season 2 in Murder World will have to split their teams up into 2 different squads. They won't know which squad they get to keep because the rest of the league will vote on which of their 2 squads gets thrown back into a dispersal. I'll go into all of these in a lot more detail when we talk about each tier specifically, but Murder World is designed to just about be the worst experience possible. It's aptly named. You don't want to be down there for very long. You want to work your way up and win more money and be in one of the top tiers. Since this is a dynasty league, all players will be kept until the owner involves that player in a transaction, either a trade or a drop. It's also important to point out that during the regular season, we have an always open free agent auction instead of weekly waivers. There will be a 12-hour clock, and it's always open. So you can throw a guy on there at 11 o'clock at night if you want. It is non-proxy, so your high bid will always show. And if somebody comes along and bids with 2 minutes left, then that person has to have the high bid for 12 hours. Since we have franchises on both the NFL side of our league as well as the NCAA side, you are able to own just a single team on either side if you want. If you are not interested in running an NCAA team, you can have just NFL ownership. If you're really only more interested in the NCAA fantasy aspect, you can skip owning an NFL team. Ideally, we have 90 owners that are dual franchise owners, but if you prefer to focus on just one side, that's your prerogative, totally fine. To be clear, we have 0 waivers or first come, first serve pickup in this league. It's all via auction. Player copies. In the NFL league, we have 90 teams. We have 9 player copies. So basically, this is the depth of a 10-team league. Pretty easy to get a pretty nice looking squad with the player depth that we have in this league. So consider that when you're getting your startup budgets put together. Addition to that, we have, like I said, 9 copies of NFL players. In the NCAA, we only have 4 copies of players for all 90 teams to spread out. So that leaves 5 copies that will become available when they become rookies in the NFL. Now, there's going to be some things we need to talk about when we get to the NCAA side, but if there are teams that only have an NCAA team, any players they owned will be in addition to the incoming rookies, the 5 copies that open up. That's how we'll work that. In the NFL auctions, you are allowed to price enforce on players you already own. However, my fantasy league will let you win those players. If you win a player you already own, that player will be removed from your roster and put back in free agency, and you will still lose that money. So you can use the strategy to try to drive a player's price up if you want, but if you get stuck with it, you lose all the money. So yes, you can enforce on players you own, but know you're playing with fire if you choose to do that. With the NCAA, I already talked about how the 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th copies will all become available when they become NFL rookies. And Fantrax will not let you trade for or bid on players you already own. And you won't be able to do anything bidding on players that you own on that side. Fantrax is really, really limited. To be honest with you guys, if anybody ever comes along and opens up a decent NCAA hosting site for fantasy football, we're probably going to move. Fantrax really does not work well for our setup. And this offseason, to be honest, has been kind of a disaster for them. So we will make the best of what we have at the moment. To be clear, even if Devy or NCAA fantasy football is not your thing, you will have 5 copies open up as rookies when they come into the NFL. That's an important thing to know. Active rosters in our offseason will expand and be unlimited. The NFL max is currently 90 players. So in the offseason, you will be allowed to have 90 players on your active roster if you choose. You will have to be back down to the league limits by August 1st. The commissioner will drop players from your roster, any roster that is not legal, 1 week following the NFL minicamp rookie auction, which takes place in August. He will make the best effort to keep any players that he considers good. However, his player evaluation may not match yours, so don't risk it. Please follow all in-season and off-season roster guidelines and deadlines. Some special bidding rules that I needed to make sure are in the rules here. All bids are final. If you accidentally bid on the wrong player, that's tough. If you accidentally bid too much on the wrong player, that's tough. This is non-proxy. If you bid $500 and the high bid was $4, you're stuck bidding $500. So be very careful when you hit send on any of your bids. I cannot go in there and change them for you. The commissioner can only delete auctions, not individual bids. If you mistakenly bid on the wrong player, you're stuck with it. Second, there's 9 copies of each player. NFL won't let you trade for a player you already own, but it will let you bid on the players you own. So like I said, you can bid on these players, but if you win them, you lose the player and the money. It doesn't do you any good to do that except for attempting to drive the price up. Keep track of your own finances to be safe. Previously, in the past, my fantasy league had a glitch where a player's total would pull from your auction budget incorrectly. That hasn't been a problem for the last couple seasons, so I don't think this is an issue. But to be safe, you should always track your auction funds when we're in the middle of an event. The transaction log for all winning auctions should have the correct amount, so if you think something is off, bring it to my attention and I can look into it. But again, big, bold, red letters, all bids, even bids and error are final, and make sure to track your own bankroll. So that's all I wanted to talk about today, some basic league setup ideas. We will go into owner rules next time. I apologize, this video is a little on the long side. There's going to be some that are longer or some that are a little bit shorter. This time we had more stuff to cover. So thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.